Hello and welcome to this very special episode where I am talking to Dee Ryan from Castleconnell, my village, who is running for Mayor of Limerick. I am so proud of this woman and she is such an inspiration and an absolute joy. We're all rooting for her to win because she definitely is the very, very best candidate of all the 15s who are putting themselves forward to serve as the Mayor of Limerick. So if you are eligible to vote in Limerick, make sure you use your vote on Friday the 7th of June. Please visit the links in the show notes of this episode for photographs and a transcript of this interview. And now, please welcome Dee Ryan. Well done, you. What an effort. Oh my God, you have to win this.
Well, we're giving it a fair shot anyway. We're giving it a whack.
Yeah.
So.
Now, I believe that you are definitely the front runner to win the mayor election in Limerick. And what I want to know is, what sparked the fire in the heart of a Castleconnell girl that made you aspire to take on this massive role and step up to such a fabulous podium?
Hi, Vig. Thanks so much for talking to me. I'm delighted to be having an interview that's going to be going to my home village of Castleconnell and all the people that I grew up with and who influenced me over the years. What sparked it? Passionate about politics. I'm very interested in politics and have been probably for the last 10 or 15 years. When I suppose age and stage of life, got into my 30s, started having kids and realised how important the decisions that were made by our elected representatives are to all of us in our lives. So that and the experience of running a business through the recession, very challenging time to be running a business. And again, I was very aware of government policy and government funding and support and how that impacted on me and my life. So that got me interested in politics. And then really it was my last 5 years as the chief executive of Limerick Chamber, where on a regular basis I was looking at issues that elected representatives have control over, they're the decision makers on, as they pertain to Limerick and to the Midwest from an economic perspective. Things like roads, the Northern Distributor Road, can we get that back on the government's agenda? Can we secure support for it? The Cork to Limerick motorway, can we continue to get support for that, to get that driven through? The importance of things like Shannon Airport. And of course, the biggest issue for the business community over the last 5 years has undoubtedly been housing, and how housing is impacting on their ability to attract and retain workers into Limerick and to hold on to the fabulous graduates and school leavers that we have in Limerick and give them an opportunity to have a full life here in Limerick. So looking at that and working with the politicians, the TDs, the ministers, the head of the different directors of service in the local authority, councillors, chief executive of the local authority, that's really gotten me completely engrossed and in the zone on Limerick for the last 5 years. And that's why I've decided to quit my job and run for this office, because I know just how much of an impact it can have in all of our lives.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And it's not like you're going for a job. It's a massive podium that you're stepping onto. So from me and my crew here in Castleconnell, we want to thank you for running, because I've been watching you on your campaign trail. You're getting very, very close to winning the vote, I think. But just all the energy that you have is just an inspiration to see for me, just running my own business and watching you go. I'm going like, how does she do that? So,
Thanks, Vig. Well, listen, I have great people around me, I can tell you, and I wouldn't be able to do it without all of the people who are helping me. I've got fantastic people from my own family to school friends, to college friends, to people I came across in business, to moms in my kids' schools who are just getting stuck in, and it's really energizing. Surprisingly, this is kind of paradoxical, because if you'd said this to me, I wouldn't have understood it until I actually went and did it. Being out every day, doing 14-hour days, but 14-hour days that consist of meeting people and talking to people and going to as many doors as possible and shaking as many hands as possible is actually really energizing.
Yeah.
It's really energizing. So I have to say I've loved it. I have loved this experience.
Excellent.
I'll really treasure it. It has been hugely, hugely positive, and it's really made me want to try and win this election and to get into office and to serve the people in Limerick. It's made me want it even more.
Yeah, absolutely. And because the energy just keeps increasing the more you focus on it, and the more people who gets involved. So yeah, we'd like to see you in there. It kind of takes a village, doesn't it? So can you talk to me a bit about what it was like growing up in Castleconnell?
Oh, I loved it. So I grew up in Castleconnell my parents moved to Castleconnell, I think 1979, 1980.
Mm-hmm.
Leslie Hartigan and Jim Hartigan, two well-known families in the village, were actually building a small cul-de-sac, 4 homes there just after Daly's Cross, called Oak Lane. And they were literally building them themselves. And my parents came across it. My mum had been teaching in Rosary Hill. That's what the hotel was. So the hotel was a convent and a secondary school before it was a hotel, Castle Oaks. And
Okay.
my mom had actually been teaching there.
Wow.
She was a young teacher in her 20s, so she was in and out of Castleconnell every day. And I was being minded by Mrs. Hassett up on the back road there in Lisnagry, and who years later, and coincidentally, I've ended up really good friends with her granddaughter, Sue Hassett, inside in Limerick City, who has the Grove Veggie Restaurant. But Sue's grandmother is there in the back road to Lisnagry, and Sue used to be out there as a child herself. And apparently my mom used to drop me in as a baby in there to Mrs. Hassett, and she'd keep going down the road and teaching Rosary Hill. So my mom and dad kind of fell in love with the village in the late 70s. Yeah. And it was a much more rural village at that time than it is today. And they were just their eyes peeled for a while to see if an opportunity would come up to buy something. And I think they came across Leslie and Jim building new houses there, dormer bungalows in Castleconnell. And actually, very funnily, they had been living in Castletroy and Milford Grange before that, another new housing estate that they were in, and they told their neighbours about the houses that Leslie and Jim were building. So our neighbours from Milford Grange and Castletroy also moved with us to Castleconnell. So that's Jerry O'Neill and Mary O'Neill. Yeah. We've actually moved house with them 3 times in my life.
Okay.
But
very good neighbours.
So Jerry from Main Street in the village originally, and very involved in rowing, and he was also interested in getting back to Castleconnell, and so they were delighted. They have bridge engineering up in Guig, lots of employers for lots of people around the village, and Jerry got my dad very involved in founding Castleconnell Boat Club when we moved out. So I think that was all 1980. And then I literally went to school across the fields, did all my primary schooling there, loved it. We had amazing teachers.
This is Castleconnell National School, is it?
Castleconnell National School, yeah.
Okay.
Where we learned how to swim at the footbridge.
Oh, you went down there. Okay.
Nowadays, my kids go to UL or some nice swimming pool in primary school for their swimming lessons. When I was in primary school in Castleconnell in the 80s, we brought our togs with us and our towels, and we walked down to the footbridge, and we had actual instructors, and we all got into the river, and we were given our swimming lessons from the bank of the river in the cold, freezing cold water in Castleconnell. And it was there you go. That's how we did it in the 80s.
That's fantastic. I've barely been in the water down there. I'd rather go up to the boat club. Did you say that your dad was involved in starting the boat club?
Yes. Yeah. So the boat club was founded in maybe, early 80s. Yeah. And my dad was one of the founders. You see, he was an accountant. And the accountants have a tendency to get roped into being involved in committees if they're that way inclined to help out and act as treasurer. Yeah. So we were living next door to you and very good friends with the O'Neills. Jerry is a passionate community person, passionate oarsman. My dad is really good pals with him. They were best friends. And Jerry said, "Come on, Corb, you'll give a hand with this now." So my dad got involved in and was very involved all through his life. Really involved in the boat club. He was president at one point. Both my brothers rowed. My mother and lots of the artists and the artist community from around the village would have been doing auctions of their work to raise money for the boat club. It really has been a grassroots movement in Castleconnell village for the last 40 years or whatever it is
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
So our childhood was very intertwined with the boat club. Like that was what we were very involved in.
Yeah, the river is coming through as a major player here, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, the
absolutely.
swimming,
Yeah, so
the
beautiful,
boats,
isn't it?
so
We're so
beautiful.
blessed to live near it and to be able to walk alongside it. I mean, I remind my kids over the last few years, and we've been, unfortunately, driving them to secondary school in Castletroy. Now they're on the bus now, thank God. But over the mornings, I'd be driving them and going, "Now, lads, you're proud. Just look at that. Look at that. You'd be watching the sunrise over the
Yeah,
Shannon
yeah,
and the mist and the fog." I'd say,
yeah.
in 10 years' time, you might be living in London or you might be living in Dublin and you
Right.
won't see this. You need to remember this. This
Yeah,
is beautiful. You're very lucky. We're very privileged to live in this part of the world and to have this beauty around us. So,
yeah,
yeah, I appreciate it. And
yeah.
I hope they do too, or if they don't now, they will at some point.
Yeah, we had visitors here a couple of weekends ago from Scotland, a choir who came over to visit our choir,
Oh, very good.
the Rolling Tone Rock Choir that
Oh,
Carrie
yes,
Hurley
yes.
runs. We had an absolute ball, but they were gobsmacked, as we say. They stayed in the Castle Oaks and they just walked around and just went like, "Oh my God!" So these guys are from Edinburgh, so
Yeah.
the granite city, isn't it? So they were like, "Oh
Yeah.
my God, it's so green." And at the
Wow.
moment, it's
That's fab.
yes. I think
But
we have something to be very proud of and very
we do.
grateful
And
for.
Vig, back in the 80s, I know you're in the Rolling Tones and you're very involved in the community in Castleconnell. Lots of the people now that you'd be meeting in those different groups were the people that I would have grown up with, and the
Yeah.
same stalwarts and people, just really good community people.
Yes.
I mean, George Lee in the village, it was his dad who would have been serving us when we were kids, going down with our 10p to see what we could buy,
Yeah.
and the same fabulous selection of very affordable jellies at the front by the till.
Yeah. He still
In his
has them.
dad's era as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then Tony McDermott, Tony, our fabulous butcher.
Yeah.
It was Tony's dad. I remember Tony's dad well, was the butcher in the village. And, just so it's lovely for me to be able to still have those connections in the village and to know them. In fact, and I think it's the same is true for anyone. And you might tell us what you feel about this, Vig, but I know my brother-in-law, who is from England and has married my sister, and they've moved to Castleconnell. He just loves that you know who your butcher is, you know their name, you know the hairdresser, you know the pharmacist, you know things, those really personal things that the coffee shop, the really personal things that you mightn't get in bigger communities and bigger areas.
Yeah, absolutely. We're just back from 7.5 years abroad, big cities, Athens, Cairo,
Wow.
And you come back here and you go like, "Oh yes, thank you, thank you, thank you." And I don't even want to go on holidays. So I'm just like, no, I'm back home now. I'm fine. I'll just walk down to the river if I want to. Yeah, no, it's an absolutely fantastic community. And the only problem we have here, I think, is if you can't just nip down to the shop. You could be gone for a couple of hours, depending on who you meet. Like I'm involved with Love Castleconnell and the Castleconnell Action Network. I think you were involved in that in the very beginning, were you?
I was. I think it was Tara and Nikki Churchill, who you know.
Yeah.
Tara Hartigan and Nikki Churchill had started getting active on a project, and they pulled a few other people together who they noticed were also interested. So myself and Donal Ryan and Eamon McQuaid and others. And we just started meeting regularly to see were there any things that we could do, to help animate the village, to I suppose, because we all love Castleconnell and we want to help everybody who's living here enjoys that little bit more. What could we do as community people to throw our shoulders to the wheel? So Love Castleconnell has arranged some fab events over the years, from concerts in Stradbally Church to street feast to celebration of the railway station. Some fantastic events that Tara and Nikki and the gang have been really involved in pulling together and running. And that's evolved into the Castleconnell Action Network, which is really trying to link all of the different groups and clubs and organisations across the village, because we have so many fabulous organizations in the village, to try and link them together and just coordinate information better amongst everybody, so that people were aware of what other people were doing, and we could potentially support each other more,
Yeah.
and get behind each other more. Just it's a communications piece, really, more than anything else. And that organization is still going, and Donal Ryan at the helm there, doing a fantastic job. So yeah, I got involved in both of those right before I took on my role in Limerick Chamber, and over the first few years of my time in Limerick Chamber, and it's been fantastic.
One of the things in Castleconnell, we talk about how fantastic it is, but it is also this week 10 years since the Worrell Inn burnt down.
Mm-hmm.
And the way it sits at the moment, right across our parish hall, which the parish hall committee are doing a lot of work getting that back up. But it is looking like really sad, and it would be absolutely fantastic to have this house as a community house, like we have the Shannon Inn that the ACM managed to purchase. So what would you like to see happening with the Worrell Inn? And I don't mean, maybe you can do something as the Mayor of Limerick for us, but, your dream, what would it look like?
Well, I know, and unfortunately the Worrell's Inn building in its initial state of disrepair, and now in its mid-construction phase, has not been giving to the village main street what it should do, in my view. I'm very conscious of not just the parish hall committee, who are very active, as you say, but our Tidy Towns group, who put huge effort into making our main streets and Castle Street look as attractive as possible, and the volunteers who are out, putting their heart and soul into giving back to the community. So I think it's essential that building owners on the main street, and I won't single out just the Worrell's Inn because it's not the only one, but building owners on the main street should be supported and assisted to bring their buildings back into productive use. We are in the middle of a housing crisis, so there's huge demand for housing, and certainly having more people living on Main Street would be of benefit for the animation of the street and also for safety on the street.
Yeah.
But there are other things that we could use buildings on our main street for. We definitely need to work with the ACM to help support them with their digital hub. I think there could be some upgrades there, and I know John McNamara at the last community meeting that we had in the parish hall there a couple of weeks ago to discuss the next iteration of our community plan, spoke about that and how we'd like to see our digital hub facilities improved. So I think the community knows what it needs, be it from childcare or digital hub facilities or housing or more retail. The community knows what it needs, but we have to support the building owners to get their buildings back into productive use. And I think that's going to have to take a carrot and a stick approach. Okay. So it isn't unique to Castleconnell. This is happening, unfortunately. I'm seeing this slight erosion. It's the remnants of the last recession, and our main streets and our village streets have not recovered in the same way as our economy has recovered, because I guess of lots of reasons, but primarily difference in how we shop and a difference in how we work. But regardless, we're in this transition phase. There is demand for these buildings to be brought back into productive use. And certainly if I'm elected as mayor, it's very firmly on my agenda to ensure that we're engaging with all of those building owners and we're helping them and supporting them to get those buildings back into use.
Yeah, we really want to have a much more vibrant high street that is more in use, especially our very young ones, mums with their new babies, and also our older generation here.
Absolutely, and there's lots of great people around the village who would love access to some of these spaces, and there's lots of great businesses around the village who would love access to some of these spaces.
Yes.
So I fully understand what you're saying, Vig. This is coming up right around the county, and I see it myself. I feel it myself. I mean, I would be so strong as to say that those neglected, dishevelled buildings are actually visual littering on our main street, and they impact on all of our lives, not just on the person living next door to them, although, obviously much more of an impact on people who are living next door to them. But I don't think it's fair on communities that this is allowed to fester and go on. And we've really been living with it for a long time.
Yes.
So in some cases, there are very genuine reasons as to why the buildings haven't been brought back into use. And we certainly want to be supporting those individuals. Someone might have passed away. Someone might be in a nursing home. There's very valid reasons in many instances as to why these buildings aren't occupied. But we need to engage with the building owners and to see what can we do to support them. And where there is no valid reason as to why the building isn't back in productive use, then we have to do enforcement of the derelict sites and the vacant sites legislation, which Limerick City and County Council is mandated to do. So that will be my approach.
This is really heartwarming to hear, Dee. And if you didn't already have my vote, then this specific issues that you have highlighted here with our high streets would definitely get my vote. So I hope people from Castleconnell are listening, because things will change with you as our mayor. But can you expand a little bit, because I have a feeling that, as you so eloquently put it, that neglected and disheveled buildings are a visual littering on our main streets, and that it does impact all our lives. How do you think it impacts on things like antisocial behaviour?
I believe that the key to revitalising our village in Castleconnell and in county villages across Limerick and small towns is putting a very concerted focus on those main street spaces. We have to be doing improvements to our public realm. We have to be putting in the investment into widening our footpaths, making sure that we have spaces for people of different ages to take a break, have a seat.
Mm-hmm.
We need to make sure that our village is accessible for all of the different ages and generations of people living in our community. And certainly hand in hand with that, then I'm also talking to the Gardaí Chief Superintendent Derek Smart in Henry Street about increased visibility of Gardaí in our village. People feel safe when they can see a Garda presence, and we do have great Gardaí working in the village. We just don't have them there as long as we'd like them to, to have them there. So we just need to see them more. We need to see more of them. And I know certainly Chief Superintendent Derek Smart and I are both lobbying the Minister for Justice, Helen McEntee, to get permission for her to release the 16 Gardaí who are on security duty in Mulgrave Street Courthouse in Limerick City, to get them released back to Superintendent Smart. That security duty function is performed by private security firms in courthouses in Dublin. Also, he's alerted me to a further 6 of his qualified Gardaí who are performing a desk function in Henry Street that again is performed by civilians in force members in other parts of the country, and he's looking for the sanction to move them back into community policing. If we got those 16 and 6, that's 24, that'll take us very close to the 30 extra Gardaí that Chief Superintendent Smart says he needs in order for us all to feel the benefit of more visible community policing. We have about 556 Gardaí across the whole county, and he says an additional 30 would just allow him to roster more of that on-street patrolling. So, look, that's the goal. And if I get elected, I am committed to working with him to get him at least those 30 and to fight for a greater allocation from upcoming graduations from Templemore of new Gardaí into Limerick, because it's something we're feeling in the village, and we're not alone. This is happening in every village, I can tell you, across the county. There is a sense of antisocial behaviour becoming a little bit more prominent.
Yeah, that's the issue.
And people feeling intimidated by that. So look, if we can get more visible community policing with the Gardaí are great at handling these issues. Those younger youth ages, they know that it's actually, they need to talk to the kids, they need to talk to their parents, and we need to coax and manage kids through that difficult phase in that age and ensure that they stay on the right path and they don't veer off into going down the road of criminality. And certainly, if we had more Gardaí presence in the village and engaging within the community, I'd be confident that we could do better there.
Yeah. What about social workers? Because, some of the antisocial behaviour are, children under the age of 12.
Yeah, you're right, Vig, and
Yeah.
absolutely, we don't want to criminalize these kids in their own minds at the age of 12. We need to support them to address the challenges they're experiencing in their home lives, if that's what's going on, or just to show them that there's a more productive way to use their energy and get them involved in youth diversion programs and sports clubs. We need to engage with the kids in a non-stigmatizing way, to ensure that they come through what for most people is a rocky patch in their early teens, and ensure that we keep them on the straight and narrow and get them back engaging in a more productive way, in a healthier way within our village and our community. And that can be done. So yes, social workers, but equally our precious volunteers in our sporting groups, our soccer club, our rowing club, our GAA, like all of these different clubs, and the youth group. I know Roisin Hartigan and others are very involved in trying to get the youth group very active in the village again. We have to support all of those different community groups, because that is the village, and we have to ensure that they're getting the funding that they need, because they're giving their time and their energy and their passion to our young people and to our village. So we have to support them in whatever way we can. I actually have announced that I'm going to be using my mayoral budget for what I'm calling a People and Communities Fund. And so I'll be, if I'm elected, I'll be coming back to say, what you need. How can I help?
Yes, exactly.
Because, those individuals, those groups, those sporting clubs, they're the fabric of our society, and they're what makes life in the village as enjoyable as it is.
Yes, it'd be lovely to have, if we could figure something out that young and old could work together, because I think there is a missing link with the mentorships that we used to have from our grandparents, and so I think there
Niels
is
do a great job, and the active retired group are very prominent and visible in the village. So that's a great idea, how to link the generations together for everybody's benefit.
Now I know that you are running a really busy campaign and you need to get back to it, but before you go, would you just please tell me, how are you running this? I mean, there must be a massive team behind you.
Do you know what? I've got huge support from loads of friends and family, but there's a very tight core group of about 10 people who have just kind of given up their lives and come on this journey with me. And actually, I wouldn't say come on the journey. They've led the way for me in many ways. Some people have experience in running campaigns previously. I don't. I've never stood for election before. Others have great experience in marketing. Others have great experience in or whatever it is. Sales and digital marketing. So look, we've kind of pooled all of our skills and said, right, how do we do this, and what else needs to be done? And it's been hugely enjoyable, absolutely hugely enjoyable. And I don't know how I'm ever going to be able to say thank you.
No. Well, you know what? You can win. That would be a great thank you. That would be a fantastic thank you. Because, of course, I want you to win. It will be a win for Castleconnell. I think you're by far the best candidate, and you are really getting high up there. This looks like it can very easily happen. So I hope everybody here in Castleconnell will join me to vote for you as our number one. But if you don't win this election, what's on the cards for you next?
I actually don't know.
Okay.
and you know what? We're 4 days out from polling, so or within a few days of polling. So I'm not going to think about it until after they've finished counting the ballots. But I haven't actually put any thought into it. We've been so focused on this. And look, if I have to think about it, I will. But I'm hoping I don't. I'm hoping that I'll be walking in straight into another 5 years of very busy and long days. But really rewarding and productive work, and that's where my focus is on. So thanks so much for talking to me, and for your support. And I'd love the people of Castleconnell to come out to me now on Friday the 7th and give me their number one.
Yes, so let's all vote number one for Dee Ryan on Friday. Dee, thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedule. I will see you in Castleconnell over the next few days to do a bit of canvassing, and
Thanks,
Dee.
Vig. I really appreciate it. You're brilliant.
Thank you so
Vig.
much, Dee.
I really enjoyed that. Thanks a
me
million.
too. Thank you.
Really
Bye.
appreciate it. Bye.
Bye. That was Dee Ryan, and if you have a vote in Limerick, please make Dee your number one choice for Mayor of Limerick on Friday, the 7th of June. And let's just join together around this amazing woman, because she will absolutely 100% for sure make a massive change for the better for all our lives in our communities. For more information on all the groups that Dee and I was talking about today, please come and visit lovecastleconnell.ie for all the information about our beautiful village and everybody who does fantastic work here. Big thank you to, oh my God, I can't say them all, but can I please just mention the tidy towns? Okay, that's all for me for today. Now go and vote on Friday, 7th of June, number 1 for Mayor of Limerick, Dee Ryan. Thank you for listening. Thank you so much for listening. I would love to hear your thoughts about this episode and how it relates to your story. Use the link in the show notes to contact me, or find me on Facebook or Instagram at Vig Gleeson. That's VIGGLEESON. You can also find me by doing a quick Google search, because there is only one Vig Gleeson in the world. So I'm very easy to find. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please give me a 5-star rating and share it with your friends. It's so important to me that stories like ours gets heard, for it helps others to heal too. There are many more episodes to come, so please hit subscribe so you won't miss a single one. With love from me to you, I'm Vig Gleeson, and you have been listening to the Life and Memoir Circle podcast. Until next time, write on.